Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast, where we talk about all things from the solo years and, of course, Beatles as well. It comes up once in a while. So we have a very, very special show planned tonight. I think we've all been looking forward to it, as we are going to be talking about a brand new album that has just come out, and it's by oh gosh, what's his name?
Ringo!
Ringo!
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's Ringo. Yes, indeed, it is What's My Name by Ringo Starr, the album we've all been waiting for. So that is going to be our main topic for tonight. So we're going to get into it very soon. And so before we get into it, let me just introduce myself. I'm Kit O'Toole. I am the author of Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours Through the Beatles' Lesser Known Tracks, Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop. You may also know me from my column Deep Beatles, from Something Else Reviews, and I am associate editor for Beatle Fan Magazine. And let me bring on my good friends and colleagues and co-hosts. I'm lucky enough to share this hour with every other week. So first off, you know him from his very popular YouTube channel where he talks about collecting. He talks about opinions, his reviews of different albums. There's some comedy in there. It's a bit of everything. So he is known on YouTube as Mean Mr. Mayo, but we just call him Joe Mayo. So give it up for Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hello there, Kit, and peace and love.
Peace and love. Absolutely. Those are going to be the key words for tonight. That's for sure. Next up, we have a gentleman who is the founder and co-host of the popular podcast Two Legs, which is all about Paul McCartney, and he is kind of relaunched it recently, so it's also now a video cast as well. So it's even you can enjoy it on another kind of on another dimension. How about that?
Correct.
So
that's perfect. Perfect.
all right, so show your love for Tom Hunyadi. Hey, Tom.
Hello, and I guess this is going to be the theme of the day right here.
Exactly. Peace and
love.
love. Peace and love.
Yeah.
And last, but definitely not least, he is the longtime host of the syndicated show Every Little Thing, where he definitely plays just that, every little thing, every solo Beatles, rare stuff. He organizes them around themes. You never know what theme he's going to pick next. I love that. And he is also the co-host of the very popular podcast, Things We Said Today. So give it up for Ken Michaels. Hey, Ken.
Hey, Kit. Hey, Tom. Hey, Joe Mayo. Hey, Beatle peoples. Peace and love.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love, everybody. And thank you all for joining us. We, of course, want to hear from you. Yep, there you go. There you go.
Send love, spread peace.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
And have a peace stream while you're doing it.
Well, as you can tell, we are really excited about this show tonight. And it will be a lot of fun. Before we get to the main topic, though, and of course, we want to hear from you guys throughout the show, but hold off on your comments on What's My Name quite just for a little bit longer, because, as always, we have the news, and there's some news to share, right, Ken?
Yeah.
You're not kidding. I think that Ringo gave us a gift today. It just so happens that the news broke today about Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band about to go on tour again. A North American tour. So far, running from May 29th with 2 dates at the Casino Rama in Ontario, then 3 dates in a row at the Beacon Theater in New York, June 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. And the tour continues through June 28th, where so far it ends at Ruth Eckert Hall in Clearwater, Florida, with Edgar Winter opening. Now, as of this moment, there are 20 dates in total, although they may add more. And it will be interesting to see if Ringo actually gives a concert on his birthday on July the 7th. We do know, of course, that on his 70th birthday, he gave a concert at Radio City Music Hall with Paul McCartney making a surprise appearance at the end. But so far, there's nothing listed for his birthday of July 7th. Some surprises So far, like I said, there are 3 dates in a row at the Beacon. Also, he's playing at Tanglewood, which is a great venue in Massachusetts, in Lenox, Massachusetts, where I've heard the sound quality there is just absolutely amazing. A lot of classical concerts are done there. James Taylor, on a regular basis, is known for giving concerts there.
Yes.
I think, I'm not sure, this might be the first time he's played there. Some of the shows actually have opening acts. The Avett Brothers will open for one show in Massachusetts, one in New Hampshire, and one in Maine. And Edgar Winter is actually opening 2 shows in Florida. There's one in St. Augustine on June the 26th, and the one that I just mentioned so far. The last show of the tour happens to be in Clearwater, like I said, June 28th. No mention yet of the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, which is where Ringo usually ends all of his tours. And the lineup for the All-Stars is the same as his most recent lineup, with Greg Raleigh, Steve Lukather, Hamish Stewart, and Colin Hay, along with Warren Ham as music director and Greg Bissonette as his second drummer. So Ringo on the road again next summer. For
East Coasters are lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, so far. Those are the dates, and we don't know.
And
he's
going to do the album. That's why he's doing it.
Sure.
It has to be.
I hope so. There are no guarantees. It's like I said, when Give More Love came out and We're on the Road Again was the opening track. What a perfect song to do live. And he wrote that with Steve Lukather, who's in the band. You know, you'd think that they would do a song like that. He's got to do What's My Name.
Yeah, of course. That's it.
But we're going to go into detail about the whole album in just a few moments. This past Saturday, a special ceremony was held for a Peace and Love event for Ringo at Beverly Gardens Park in Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles. Ringo was on hand to unveil a Peace and Love sculpture of a hand flashing a peace sign, which he gifted to the city. And the sculpture will permanently stay there. Ringo and his wife, Barbara Bach, attended the ceremony, as did... Oh, that's... Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, the back of Give More Love there.
Yeah,
right?
The back of Give More Love has got it's the peace sign right there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Peace, baby.
It's a nice thing that it should be staying there. So if you ever visit in the area, stop by and take a look. And last week, there was a 1-hour conversation with Ringo, streamed live on parade.com. Ringo was accompanied by David Lynch and photographer Henry Diltz, and the 3 of them were interviewed, discussing a wide variety of topics. They talked about the Beatles, Ringo's new book of photography, Another Day in the Life, that's called. Also, what makes a great photographer? They were asked that question, what they like about each other's work, his new album, What's My Name, Transcendental Meditation, and more. And if you didn't see it, the entire conversation is available now for streaming at parade.com and also on YouTube under Ringo Starr Live, exclusive conversation with David Lynch and Henry Diltz.
How was it?
I've seen part of it. I haven't had a chance to see the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
I haven't either.
It was interesting. I mean, Ringo was funny as could be. As the conversation progressed, actually, the other 2 guys weren't talking that much, and it was Ringo dominating the whole conversation. But, it's kind of interesting, the whole part about meditation and all the work that David Lynch has done in trying to bring it to schools in America and the effect that can have on children learning it. And, I have to watch the whole thing, and I probably, should have done that before doing the show tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next show. But thankfully, it's there on YouTube for us now whenever we want to see it.
Great.
I got to check that out. Did he talk about what it was like to be on the Ed Sullivan Show? That's what
I don't think
curious.
so. I don't think so.
Let's hope it wasn't a typical Ringo interview.
That's reminding me of Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, they all the Beatles,
interviewing Paul just recently.
Oh, yeah.
Now, just to clear up something here, the report about Paul McCartney's 2 new songs, the titles of which are Home Tonight and In a Hurry, they will be coming out on 2 different dates. November 22nd, it'll be released digitally. And then on the 29th, a week later, there will be a very limited Record Store Day picture disc 7-inch vinyl on Capitol Records. The picture disc will feature new and exclusively created artwork based on the parlor game Exquisite Corpse, along with a lyric insert. And both songs come from the Egypt Stations sessions with Greg Kurstin producing. So actually on November 22nd, it's a very busy day. You have the digital release of those two songs from Paul. You have the Beatles singles collection coming out that day. And I also want to mention that there's an album from Harry Nilsson called Lost and Found, which is the last songs that Harry Nilsson had written, being redone in the studio. Mark Hudson produced it, and you've got people like Jim Keltner helping out on the sessions, and the great Jimmy Webb, the songwriter, and Kifo Nilsson, who happens to be one of Harry's sons. And that's coming out November 22nd.
Klaus Forman's there too.
Klaus Forman, very good.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
And that's basically it.
Oh wow!
Wow, but
keeping it short and sweet.
But
we got a lot to talk about.
But it was a lot of news. And by the way, Exquisite. I just love Exquisite Corpse. It sounds like a goth metal band or something. I love
That's
that.
a good name for it,
isn't it? I mean, that'd be that's a band name there. All right.
I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah, write that down. Exquisite Corpse. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Ken. And well, let's get into what we've all been dying to get into, which is What's my name? And everyone watching, we of course want you to chime in, want to know what you think of the album. But we're gonna start out. Oh, there you go, Tom and
wait a minute, not so fast, kid. Not so fast.
The blue
we
vinyl.
got the blue vinyl.
Nice. Oh,
got it from Ringo's website. Nice.
Very nice. Oh,
That's
very nice.
Reminds me of the Ringo album.
Yeah.
Remember the photo of the Ringo from the Ringo album, where he's in what is that?
Yes.
Like the cellophane or whatever that he's wrapped in. Remember
that?
Yeah.
I had the photograph 45 as a kid. I used to love that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That is really cool. So yeah.
Sorry.
So, no, that's great. So, yep. So we have the Tom and Joe showing off the vinyl versions. So, before we get into specific songs, let's sort of look at it as a whole, a whole work. And let's start out by, what was your first reaction to hearing this? Our expectations were kind of built up by, him dropping What's My Name and Grow Old With Me beforehand. So expectations were high. What were your initial thoughts just listening through it for the first time? Tom, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thank you, Kit. My expectations, I gotta be honest with you guys. His last 6 albums were okay. I didn't really think much of them. There's some gems, don't get me wrong, there's some gems on each of them, but they wasn't very exciting to me. They don't hold up. But that being said, when I heard What's My Name, I got very excited. And then when I heard Grow Old With Me, I grew even more excited. And then when I started listening to this album, the thing that's really struck me was the energy. There's a lot of energy on this album, and the musicianship on this album I think is excellent. And that's one of the things that stood out to me right away. So right off the bat, I was very pleased with what I heard from this album, and it's, for my ears, it's very memorable. And this is an album that I know I'll continue listening to into the future. So I was very, very excited about it. But expectation wise, up until I heard, What's My Name, to be honest with you, I wasn't, overly excited about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when you first heard that, you were not, you didn't immediately grab onto that single. I mean, it didn't immediately resonate. No,
that single. No, when I heard the news that he was going to put out a new album, I wasn't overly excited. However, when I heard the first song and then the second song, that's what really drew me into, being excited for this album.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Joe, how about you? I mean, when you first listening to this album, what were your initial impressions?
Well, let me tell you first that my expectations were mixed because I've been thinking that Ringo's albums, the last several albums, while they have gems here and there and good tracks, and I certainly like a lot of the songs here and there, they've been kind of spotty, and I've thought that they've been kind of very like samey, for like this similar. There's a lot of sameness to those records. I thought that Postcards from Paradise was kind of average overall, though I liked a few tracks off it a lot. And Give More Love, though, I did like. So based on that, I was having kind of better expectations for the new one. But when I first heard the new album, I mean, I really liked it on first listen, and that doesn't really happen a lot. The songs, when they first were dropped, I didn't really think much of the title track, What's My Name. I still really don't consider that one a favorite. Personally, that's probably one of my two least favorites. Maybe people can guess what the other one is. But so I was like, well, it'd be fun to do in concert for Ringo because of the, people shouting, Ringo in response to What's My Name. But other than that, as a song, didn't do much. Grow Old With Me, when I heard that one, I thought, this is very good. I really liked that. That hit me. And then the album itself, we'll get into it more later, of course, but initial reaction, I liked it straight away. Doesn't always happen. And I knew that probably repeated listens were going to be rewarding. And I thought the production at first listen, it's weird because, I thought, it sounded different from the other Ringo albums. Maybe in an odd way, because I thought his voice was kind of more distant a lot of times. The production was a little different. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that way now. Well, the second or third, let alone, I'm over a dozen listens, by the way. This thing is in my car, and it's not coming out. So, in fact, I'm sick of the album. And I mean that. I mean
already,
that
huh?
in a good way. You know what I mean? I so much enjoying it. And playing it. It's like that over-familiarity is coming in already.
Right.
And we'll get into that. But that's it for first time.
And actually, you touched on two subjects I'm going to be asking about later, the production and the sameness of previous albums. So hold on to those thoughts, Joe.
Okay. We should be brief.
Yep.
Yeah.
So hold on to those. All right.
Okay.
Ken, what did you think just first time listening to this?
Somewhat similar to what Joe just said. I really loved What's My Name, the song, the first time that I heard it. I loved all the energy, and I loved how you could identify the song with him because he uses that shtick in his concert. And I grew to really love Grow Old With Me. I still think the more I hear Grow Old With Me, the more I love it. I really love the arrangement of that song now. But the first few times I listened to the full album, I was very much underwhelmed by it. And that's why, I don't like to give reviews of listening to an album after one or two listens, because it's only after several listens that you really get to know an album very well. The one thing that kind of disappointed me about the album overall is, while I love the production on it, and I love the musicianship, and I love the mix of almost everything, his voice is kind of distant on many of the tracks. I'm not a fan of that for any artist, not just Ringo. Vocals should be right up front. And they're that way on Grow Old With Me. On many of the songs, you feel like he's a foot or more away from the microphone. And I don't even know why that's necessary, But most of those songs didn't impress me on first listen. It's only after listening to it several times that I grew to love it. And yeah, I can agree with Joe about the sameness of a lot of Ringo's recent albums. The post-Mark Hudson albums, they have a similar production style. They're all very bright sounding, but they're all mixed well. But here, the one thing that stood out for me the most was Ringo's vocals weren't up front, and that kind of bothered me. And maybe because I think too much about production, I have a production background, it sticks out in my head. It's the first thing that leaps at me. I want to hear Ringo's vocals. But I grew to love the album, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had a very similar reaction to yours, Ken, that I think my expectations were really sky high after hearing Grow Old With Me, and particularly What's My Name. I do like What's My Name. It's a fun track. He's, and sounds energized. It's, so I thought, wow, this is really, this is going to be good. And we'll get to individual songs in just a minute, but for me, yes, I think it took a couple of listens for me to really get into it. There were certain songs that grabbed me immediately. Better Days probably was the one that it's like, yes, yeah. I mean, that one really,
my number one track.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that one resonated with me immediately. I just thought that was great. But some of the others, I had to listen a few times to really, connect with some of them, so and I agree, that's why though I wanted to ask about first impressions, because sometimes you listen to an album and you immediately connect with it, and then there are others that they have to grow on you. You have to listen to them. How many times, Joe, did you listen to it?
Oh, it's over. I lost count at a dozen, but I was trying to count because when you talk about these things, that the subject comes up. Well, I've heard it 3 times so far, 6 times so far, but I've been doing a lot of driving, and my system in the car is really good. Some people say, "Oh, that's not the best way to listen to music." Perhaps not. I got a great system. I don't know. It sounds great. And I just wanted to say before I forget that what Ken said, the vocals, I like mine up front too. And when I did a first impressions video, just the first impression, one listen, I was like, wow, I can't understand some of the words. I hope the lyric sheet isn't closed. But funny enough, after the second listen and beyond, I can hear just about everything. It doesn't sound like that to me anymore. Maybe I'm familiar with it now, really. But it doesn't sound as far away as I thought the first time.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we've touched on it a little bit already, and a couple of people in the comments have mentioned it too. So let's talk about that production. Now, Ringo has been producing his own stuff since, was it Why Not? Wasn't that the first one that where he started producing himself? I'm not sure.
Well, the albums with Mark Hudson, he co-produced.
Co-produced, yeah.
So, and then after that, I think he has a production credit with Bruce Sugar as engineer.
Okay. Yeah. So, so he's really in the, fairly recent years has taken more of the reins, And so, how would you compare the production on this album? We have some people say, like Mark here said, he liked Give More Love a bit better before. Others thought the production was a little better. And another, Tim mentions, he said Ringo is his own producer, so he must have wanted it that way for some reason. So let's talk about that. Let's start with you, Ken. What you've talked about it a little bit already. From a producer standpoint, what did you like? What did you not like?
The only thing I didn't like was Ringo's vocals being distant. That's the only thing. The musicianship is stellar. He's always surrounded himself with great musicians. I love the playing. I love the lead guitar work from someone like Steve Lukather or Joe Walsh, what he plays on Grow Old With Me or on the opening cut, Gotta Get Up to Get Down. I love the playing. And I love the way the drums are mixed up hot. That's one of the things that I really like about his recent albums. Is the drums are really prominent there. You really hear what he's playing. And that's part of the highlight for me in listening to Ringo's albums is hearing his drumming. And, his songs, I think the appeal of this album to some people is that most of the songs, really every song except Grow Old With Me, is mid-tempo to up-tempo. So there's a lot of energy in there, and the drumming just drives it. So it rocks. This album rocks a bit, and it has a bit of an edge to it. And he's always had great musicians on his albums, and it shows on here. The mix is perfect to me, except for the vocals. But if you listen to so much of the post Mark Hudson, I always say post Mark Hudson so much because the Mark Hudson albums were produced a certain way, and it did have very much a Beatley sound to it. It has so much of for me, a high-end sound, high EQ sound, though very bright, the ones that came after Mark Hudson for me. So, and there is a sameness in that regard, but in terms of the mix of the instruments, I think it's stellar, on most of those albums.
Yeah, and you make a very good point, Ken, about the drums. Yeah, the drums are front and center in this. I mean,
they're good.
Which I like. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a great change, and and I mean, he sounds better than ever. Yeah, there you go.
Is this man almost 80 years old? Is he really?
That's the other thing. Can you believe it? He's almost 80 years old. I mean,
but I'm listening to these drums, and I'm listening to. It's great. I'm sorry, but just I can't help myself. I'm really enjoying myself.
It's true, because that's and one more thing before I go on to you, Joe, is Ken, you brought up that this album rocks, and I forgot to mention that was one of my early impressions too. That this album rocks a little harder than I've heard Ringo do in a while, which is great. I mean, I like that, absolutely. So yeah, and Tim Jackson, just you forget in '79. Yeah, you really do.
Yeah,
it's,
absolutely, Tim.
Phenomenal. So Joe, you were talking a little bit just a couple of minutes ago, referring to the production. So go a little more into it. What did you like?
As I say, right away, I mean, like Ken said, I mean, I thought that Ringo sounded distant. I don't think that anymore, but I don't know if it's because I'm so familiar with it now that it sounds good to me. And the fact that the production to me sounds somewhat different than we're used to, that alone makes this sound like a new kind of record. It doesn't sound so much like the sameness, the similarities we're used to hearing, at least in my opinion. So that's different right there. We talked about the guitars, the musicianship. I heard Tom mention it. I heard also Ken mention it. Top notch. Even synth horns, like on I'm tempted to talk about individual tracks, though I'll wait a little bit. But there's some like horns that I really like, even if they're synth horns. Lucas's guitar is just fantastic. Very optimistic sounding, a lot of these songs. Very happy, upbeat. I like the fact that it's like a little over 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. I mean, to me, you start, you get through, you finish, and you almost want to hear it again. It's painless, it's enjoyable and over. You know what I mean? It makes me feel good. I mean, it's a feel-good album and an upbeat album. And as far as production, I'm not an expert on production. As long as I can hear the vocal centered, that's the main thing I like. I like to hear the singing. I like to hear it. But I'm getting into this one regardless. And to me, it all sounds a good mix right now. So ask me in another dozen or so listens. Maybe I'll have a different opinion.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, because I'm someone that is very greedy when it comes to wanting more and more from the solo Beatles. And I always loved the fact that on some of those Mark Hudson albums, like Vertical Man had 13 songs on it, and Ringo Rama, I think, had 14 songs on it. And to me, just give me more. But at the same time, it goes on very long.
Yes.
Some of those albums. Whereas, like you said, these 10 songs are up, and you felt like it took a couple of minutes to hear the whole thing, and you want to hear it over again. So it's kind of like less is more.
Sometimes, Ken, people will say, in the discussions that I have with them, I understand that they'll say, well, only 10 songs, or in some cases, only 9 songs. I think Ringo 2012 maybe had 9. And I always say, well, look, if they're good, I'd rather hear, 10 pretty good songs, or 9 or 10, depending on your feeling, rather than hear 14 or 15 all right songs with maybe like 6 duds, half of it's not so. You're paying hopefully for the quality, if you like it,
right?
Not the number of songs.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. Sometimes it's quality over quantity. That's and this album definitely has that. So Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, well, like Joe says, someone that's not an expert on, production or anything like that. However, I do like, my music up front, with Ringo. I mean, listen, we all know Ringo's not the greatest vocalist of all time,
Sure.
but this music, I think, is the saving grace of this album, and I think the music is what should be cherished on this album personally. So I don't mind those vocals being a little distant if that's what people think, and I happen to think that they are a little bit, and whether or not if we talk about the auto tune or the studio trickery that they use on his voice for songs like the end of Gotta Get Up to Get Down, I don't know if that's officially auto tune or not. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, but for me, like I said, that's the music that I think is produced very well, and maybe he just felt that his vocals weren't as strong as past albums, and maybe that's why he felt that. And plus it's very backing vocals heavy too, especially on the choruses, which I think was maybe a smart move because like I said, his vocals probably aren't that strong. It reminds me of those early George Harrison albums when Paul and John would over sound on George on the choruses, like those early George songs, but like If I Needed Someone, but that's what I like about it. Backing vocals, music is excellent, and it's done. I mean, Bruce Sugar should be commended for this. I mean, I think he did a great job. On the work he did here is excellent.
I agree. I mean, I think ever since Ringo has taken a bit more control over the producing, I don't know. I just think there's been even though some of the albums, as we've mentioned, were uneven, in some cases, but I feel like it's more his vision, and this album to me was really about his vision. I mean, I think he wanted to, and I apologize, somebody mentioned this earlier and in the comments, and I completely agree, whoever said this was a good point, which is it was Mark that it captures the live energy of his shows, and I think that may have been something he was trying to go for, because a lot of these songs I could picture him performing live. I mean, they had the sing-along kind of aspect, the catchiness. I mean, I can absolutely see that.
And that's a good point. That's a good point, kid. A lot of artists, their records will sound, kind of loose, not as tight. And when they play them live, I mean, that's when I think, a lot of good bands will improve on those songs. And I think they actually, I think you're right. They were able to bring that live energy onto this album, and I think it really helped it.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking. As I said, I hope. Oh, please, Ringo, come to Chicago, because I really want to see. I would love to hear a lot of these tracks live. I think they'll play very well. And as far as the production goes, there were times when I thought the effects on Ringo's voice were a little overdone, and we'll get to that in just a second. I think you all know what's coming, and there was more of that, but as I think you guys have pointed out, and some people have mentioned in the comments, maybe it was a case, I don't know, maybe Ringo felt that his vocals weren't as strong as he'd like them to be, and wanted to, I don't know.
I really don't want to interrupt, but I guess we want to bounce off each other. But I'm sorry, but I got to jump in on this anti-Ringo vocals thing, because I like Ringo as a singer, and I'm not going to say he's a great singer, but I like the sound of his voice, and I think he Ringo. I hate to bring this up and start World War III, but I think Ringo still sounds like Ringo. Say more than
true. Oh, sure.
Say that Paul sounds like Paul.
No, I agree.
I think he sounds better for Ringo these days, and I don't see any problem with it. The auto-tune thing, which we'll get into the other song, but everybody's always telling me. I noticed it happened with the first time I heard about it was Postcards from Paradise album. There was a reviewer saying, I can't take the auto-tune. I'm saying, what auto-tune? And I know it's there. If people tell me it's there, I'll take your word for it. And what I mean by that is when I think of auto-tune, I think of like that Cher song "Believe,"
right,
where it was very, very like robotic, and another song on this album that we'll talk about, Money. I'll just bring it up now. That's blatantly, seriously auto-tuned, and so that you notice it. I don't hear it like the other songs like that. I've never been able to pick it up on Postcards from Paradise, Give More Love. It probably is, but I'm like, I'm not hearing what everybody else is hearing, and I'm glad I'm not, I guess, because, I said, I would hate to hear something and think to myself, oh my, that sounds all really auto-tuned.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's just not share belief. I mean, it's used for different things.
Yeah.
But I could hear it on that. I knew I could hear the auto-tune on Cher's Believe. I can hear it on Ringo's Money. I can hear it on Paul's Get Enough. When I'm listening to If It's Love That You Want, I don't think, whoa, he sounds auto-tuned. It's not Love That You Want. As one example. Yeah. I'm fine with it. I like the vocals on this album and the recent Ringo albums.
I'm the same with you, Joe, because for years I could pick out auto-tune easily. I could hear it in a lot of top 40 radio. It's in a lot of country music that I've listened to. Mm-hmm. But I didn't notice it in Ringo. And I've seen people online saying, oh, listen to all the auto-tune on Ringo's albums. And I wasn't hearing it. And it was really bothering me. I mean, it certainly wasn't apparent to me. And people are saying that it's on Grow Old With Me. I don't hear it.
I don't hear
it. I mean, certainly, yes, on Money you can hear it. And when I look back now, the song Electricity has it. Now I hear it in that song. But it's not like it's in your face. But, this whole thing about auto-tune, which we started talking about when Egypt Station came out, and you would hear it on Nothing for Free and, Get Started.
Right.
Yeah, Get Enough, sorry. And... yeah, it doesn't bother me if it's being used for effect. It only bothers me if it's being used if the person can't sing.
Right.
Or can't sing the notes. And when it comes to Ringo singing, first of all, I love Ringo singing. He has a limited vocal range, but he makes it work for the kind of songs that he puts out. And, I've also listened to some of your shows recently, Tom, where you're talking about you love him when he rocks with his voice. You don't hear him as a ballad singer. I hear him as a ballad singer too. If you listen to a song like Good Night, I mean, it's very tender vocals. Only You, those songs. His voice works for that. He knows he has a limited range. He writes songs to fit that range. I don't think he's straining in any way with his vocals on this album. I just, I'm just not a fan of his vocals being pushed back.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. All right. Let's get to the elephant in the room. We've been talking about let's just get to it, everybody. Probably, other than maybe Grow Old With Me, the most, shall we say, discussed track on the album, which is, of course, his cover of Money. Now, as we've all been mentioning, he quite obviously used auto-tune on this cut. And it was interesting. I saw an interview with him where he talked about it, and he said he wanted to do Money his way. He really did. And the reason that he used auto-tune was he wanted it to sound more today. He wanted it to sound more modern. So, we're already getting some comments. Money equals horrible. Yeah. So let's just get into it. So, Tom, what's your...
Yeah. Listen, I'm all for experimenting. I'm all for trying something new. I had no problem with Paul, using it for part of the song of Get Enough. He didn't use it for all the vocals. He just used it for the chorus. And, with this, for Ringo, I love when he does, covers. I think one of his strong points is covers. I mean, he's like the Beatles. He could take do a song and make it his own, just like the Beatles did with covers. But this, just still not a fan of auto-tune on any, musician, whether they're R&B and or rock and rollers. I just think it's a bad, piece of equipment for recording. To make it more recent, like you said, Kit. I mean, I'm all for that as well too. For me, it just didn't work in for my ears and what I want to hear. I mean, it's too bad, but I praise him for getting out of his comfort zone and doing that. But it's really not for me.
Excuse me, did you like it on Nothing for Free?
To steal, hold on to your thought. To steal another Ringo song, I thought it brought the party down. Because I was enjoying the first 4 songs on the album so much, but then I heard it and I kind of, felt like an inflated balloon. To answer your question, Joe, I would have preferred it if he didn't use it. Okay, but I do enjoy that song. But yeah, I mean, I don't like that he used it for the effect that he used it for. So just to be fair,
Yeah, Nothing for Free. I really love that song. I'm surprised to hear myself say that. I hate new music. I hate the style of new music, but it's still Paul. It's still Paul doing that.
Right.
To me, which is why. Anyway, I'm turning it into the Paul show. With
I thought you were talking about Get Enough.
Oh no, not Get Enough. No.
Okay.
I don't like Get Enough. But I do love Nothing for Free. I love.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Joe, go ahead, Joe. What's your take?
Well, I heard all about Money. I said, "Oh my God!" I said he's going to do a modern sounding version of Money. Oh. And the first time I listened to it, I thought, "Oh, come on!" And I think in my first impressions video, I said that I think I'd rather hear the Flying Lizards doing their version of Money. But by the second listen, and I think it was because of the placement of the song too. I think this album is sequenced very well, by the way. That's another thing I should mention while I thought of it. It's the 5th track, when you listen to a CD. Or it's probably, is it the last track on side one?
Side one, yeah. Last track
so that's, but when you're listening to it, for me, like what Tom was saying, he was enjoying the first 4 songs and then Money comes along. I've listened to it so much now that I can enjoy it for what it is. Would I play that song on its own? Just pick it out and know it? No. But in the context of it, I like the kind of gimmick, if you will, saying, let's have a lark and do Money in today's style, just for fun. And the song Money itself, I like. It's a classic oldie. Beatles did it, more than once. So, I mean, I guess in the context of the album, I don't mind it. So it's under 3 minutes. I timed it just for the show, 2 minutes, 55 seconds. It may feel like 20 minutes to some people, but I think it's I think it's fun, enjoyable for what it is. As I say, to me, the least track on the album, for sure. I would rate it least in order of preference. But I have fun with it. After the first listen, I said, this is growing on me a little bit. Don't love it. But I enjoy it for some reason when I'm listening to the album. And I think it was intentional. Obviously, it was intentional. Ringo said that's why it stands out so much. Let's just do this way and for a lark, maybe.
Yeah, right. That's true. Ken, what's your reaction? You were talking about a little bit earlier, but
yeah, this is scaring me. I'm agreeing too much with Joe.
Oh my God!
Scared you?
Yeah,
it's the apocalypse.
You should be happy when that happens. That's great.
No, when it comes to auto-tune, like I said, I'm not one of those people that is so anti auto-tune. Like I said, I only don't like it when it's used for people who can't sing the parts as a crutch. If it's used for effect and it's used well, I don't mind it. Like you said, Joe, I love Nothing for Free. Love it.
Me too.
Wish that would have been a single.
Yep.
If that was a single and Top 40 Radio was playing Paul, it could have been a hit. Nothing for Free. I don't think it works on Money. I love the song because it's a great song. Ringo's having fun with it. It's hard to destroy a great song like that. It has such history with the Beatles. John covered it too, Live Peace in Toronto. I can listen to it, and like you said, Joe, in the context of the album, I could listen to it. I wouldn't just pick it apart and play that song alone.
No.
But and it's my least favorite of all the songs on the album. So I agree with you there. But I don't automatically think, I'm anti-auto-tune for everything. If it works for what you're trying to do, like it did for Nothing for Free or For You or one of those songs, I don't mind it. Okay? The Beatles are always experimenting with new sounds anyway. You have no idea if they were still around today, if they would even tamper with that. We don't know.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Ken. And somebody else mentioned it in the comments earlier, which was that the Beatles would add effects to their vocals and everything, and that's true. But it was usually for a purpose. I mean, to me, and kind of like jumping off on what you're saying, that if the vocal effects are used for a purpose, that's fine. And if it fits the song. Excuse me, I just didn't think it fit this song. Unless, as a few people have been pointing out, it was his Salute to the Flying Lizards version, maybe, but no, I mean, for me, the backing track was great, no problem with that. But I just was sort of at a loss as to why, he chose that. Now, he said in this interview, I think it was for Canadian radio or something, that he wanted it to sound updated, and that's fine. I just don't think it worked in the context of this song. I mean, the auto tune. It's definitely, as you all were saying, probably the weakest track on the album, and it's not that. If auto tune is used sparingly once in a while, and certainly kind of subtly, okay, but I guess it's just, geez, this has been done so many times. I mean, how many times have we heard, auto tune on hip hop and a lot of this, give it a rest.
I think that was the idea, though. Ringo says, now I'm going to do my one take on it. He said, this is the closest, I think he said, in that interview,
came to rap.
One of the interviews. Yeah. I don't know if I'd call it, well, yeah, I guess it's close to rap, but not so much rap, but just new technology.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get into the songs. So why don't we, the other songs, now that we've gotten the elephant out of the room, so we'll go with, let's talk about songs that were highlights for us. And again, everybody who's watching, and thank you for your comments. You've given a lot of great comments so far, and feel free to share your favorites. So Joe, let's start with you. What were some highlights for you?
Well, as I said earlier, my favorite track right now is definitely Better Days. And Ringo co-wrote a lot of these songs, almost all of them, I think, right? And when I looked at this one, I said, Ringo had to have written this one. And then I looked and it was only Sam Hollander.
Right.
But I think it was said that it came from something he heard Ringo talk about, maybe, in one of the descriptions I heard. And I'm glad, because I just love the upbeat, rocking sound of this. I love the female singers on it. Another touch that I like. But what really got to me about it was that, in trying to understand maybe what he's singing about, it sounds like something about, take a picture right now and kind of like hold on to it, because some of us went over to the other side, if I remember all the words, and this and that. But something about will come around again. And I started thinking that I remember Ringo talking about reincarnation a couple of times, and one of them was on the Donahue show. I remember 1981 with Barbara, and I think he said he believed in reincarnation. I thought maybe that's what he's singing about. How cool! And I look at the credits; it's just written by Sam Hollander, but supposedly based on stuff he heard Ringo talking about. But so I have some notes here on it. I want to make sure I get everything. Well, I say that the what is it, the phrasing, whether the girls on the back, the chorus, the way the melodies of this. There's so many earworms I should mention. I don't want to forget that. The whole album, really. So many of these songs are stuck in my head. One minute I'm singing that, next minute I'm doing something else somewhere, and I'm thinking, thank God for music I hear in my mind constantly. Can't get it out of there as an earworm. Got that one. And sometimes I'm listening to Life is Good in my mind. I'm like, come on, get out of my ears. Get out of my head.
Very catchy album.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and of course, like Ken is fond of saying, and it's true. If you play an album enough, if there's enough there that you're liking it, if you don't like an album at all, you're not going to play it a lot of times, or maybe play it once more, two more times. But when you like something and it's there, I think it really kind of rewards with repeated listening. So real quick, Better Days. My second favorite song would have to be "It's Not Love That You Want." I really love that, written by Dave Stewart with Ringo together. It's just got a lot of zip to it. The guitar, that's really good on there. I think Dave Stewart's playing, and again, I said synth horns before. I think those are horns that I like. The part that and the guitar together. I really like "Life Is Good" a lot. Very positive, optimistic. I think "Life Is Good" sounds very much like "Thank God for Music" in a way. They're kind of similar, but I've listened to it enough now that I can tell they're different songs. But at first, I thought these are kind of similar. "Magic," I can't forget "Magic." That's another terrific track that I like, even though the title is so common. And I'm just excited about those tracks the most. But I want to talk a little bit. Hopefully, somebody else will bring it up about the first track too.
I will.
Yeah. I will.
Gotta get up to get that. Should I mention as I brought it up? That's a song. When I first heard it, I was like, I don't know what is this Joe Walsh is singing. That's a rap. This is a rap tune.
Yeah,
closest to rap. Yeah. I hate rap. But now again, I have had so much fun with it. I was like, why is Joe Walsh taking first listen? Why is Joe Walsh doing almost all the vocal duties? There's so many of them. And now I'm like, go, Joe. That's fun. It's almost like they're spoofing and cracking on the internet. Yep. Twitter, Facebook, sitting around doing nothing else, which we're guilty of these days, What's up with that? He says, I have a lot of fun with that song, and I love the way, at one point, it fools you near the end thinking it's over, kind of like Helter Skelter-ish, and then comes back again. A nice touch. So, and Grow Old With Me, I mentioned how I really like that version very much that Ringo does. I think he did the best he could with that. I don't think he could have done it any better. Get everything, and the peace song. Ringo's got to have the peace song. So we, of course, have that one on there. Send Love, Spread Peace. Not one of my favorites, one of my lesser favorites, but I enjoy it too.
Absolutely.
I think I covered it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Ken, how about you?
Well, definitely, I would have to say Better Days is a standout. I love the fact that it's such a tight song. It's all captured in under 3 minutes. It's so damn catchy. The guitar part in there it carries the song. It's very catchy. Every song on this album is catchy. There's something to be said about Ringo's style of songwriting, and it doesn't seem to matter who he writes with. You always know a Ringo song because they're simple compositions in terms of chord progressions and all, but they work for Ringo. There's something to be said about that. I mean, if you listen to all 4 Beatles, if you listen to 4 separate songs from each of the Beatles, but you didn't hear vocals, someone else sang them, you could tell a John Lennon song from a Paul McCartney song, from a George Harrison song, from a Ringo song. And somehow it works for Ringo. And simple is effective with him. Yeah. And I love Better Days. It's got a great edge to it. And I also love Magic a lot, which is a song that he wrote with Steve Lukather. And it's a song that doesn't sound like anything else that Ringo's put out. But we were talking on the Things We Said Today podcast, and it's true that if you look back at some of the Steve Lukather stuff that he was doing, say, in Toto in the early 80s, or Steve Lukather did so much great studio work for people like Boz Scaggs. This is kind of like something that would fit what Boz Scaggs might do. Yeah, from that particular period. But with Ringo's vocals, this song sounds great. This is one of those songs where, like I said before, if Ringo's stuff was played on top 40 radio like it was in the 70s, I could see this song being a hit. It's very catchy. His vocals are great in Magic.
Yeah.
Like I said, Grow Old With Me is a definite highlight because it's such a great John Lennon song. I want as many people in the world to cover "Grow Old with Me," and I love this arrangement. And Jack Douglas deserves a lot of credit for that. "Life is Good" is another example of a simple song that works really well. I think the one thing that carries most of all about this album is that as Ringo has gotten older, he's just exuding a confidence in himself, in his music, and also in the way he carries himself in interviews. He's very proud of what he's achieved with the Beatles, his solo career, 30 years now of touring with the All-Stars, and it shows. And if you listen to the lyrics of the songs here, it's all very positive. It's all about peace and love. It's all very encouraging words. And on the one hand, I wish there'd be a little variety there and write about something else, but that's who Ringo is, and he's proud of who he is. And it's a statement about him and where he's at right now in his life. He keeps saying peace and love. He keeps on flashing the peace sign in every single interview. That tells you who he is, and it shows in his music. And I think you were saying before, Kit, that this is Ringo on his own terms, putting out the music that he wants to put out. He cares about what he's saying, even if the message is the same in many of these songs. And I think there's a strength in that as well. So I do love the title track a lot. Like I said before, I'd love it 10 times more if Ringo's vocals were more up front. "Send Love, Spread Peace" I like a lot, although it does remind me melodically, and maybe it's the chord progressions, it reminds me of Peace Dream. Going back a few albums, same message too. I do like "Thank God for Music." We should talk a little bit about Sam Hollander, because for me, an exciting thing is when Ringo works with someone he's never worked with before. And Sam Hollander, I had to look up his name myself. He's someone who is a songwriter and a producer, and he's done a lot of work with Panic at the Disco, as well as Fitz and the Tantrums. And so, it's working with someone who's very successful right now with the modern music of today, and I think he gives this album even more of a spark by doing so. For me, the excitement in studying Ringo's stuff are all these songwriting collaborations that he does. I kind of prefer it when his music is more mixed, has more variety in musical styles. I do like when he writes with someone like Van Dyke Parks, for example, with songs like Bambula, or Samba. The songs he's written with Dave Stewart are different. I love the songs he's written with Richard Marx. I like all these different songwriting collaborations. So when someone new enters the picture, like Sam Hollander, that's really exciting for me. And I hope that they do more work together. But overall, I like just about everything on this album. Not crazy about money. But if I had to pick outside of the initial two songs, "What's My Name" and "Grow Old with Me," I'd have to go with "Better Days" and "Magic." Those are tremendous songs.
Yep.
When you were saying, if I may, just for a second, Ken, I'm thinking consistently, song for song. For me, this is like his best album in that way since maybe Time Takes Time. I've always thought that. I like "Why Not." I know not everybody does, but I like that. But still, even there, I didn't think all the songs were pretty good. More spotty, but. For me, I got this right now in my top 5, maybe even number 3.
Wow!
Out of his 20 albums, and sorry, Goodnight Vienna. But it's fighting with Goodnight Vienna for number 3.
Oh no!
But I had to say that because I have notes and I didn't want to miss that point. I say song for song for me. I think it's enjoyable, like, almost all the way through, pretty much.
I would wait a while before I place it that high. For me, it's always been the Ringo album, "Time Takes Time," the first 3 albums with Mark Hudson. Those are the strongest albums in Ringo's catalog. I'm not going to say that this album is better than all the post Mark Hudson albums. I think they're all kind of equal, but I kind of look for some variety in Ringo's music, and I like when he's worked with other people, like I said, like Van Dyke Parks. Those are very high moments for me in his post Mark Hudson catalog. But I do love this album very much, and I definitely encourage people to go out and buy it.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And Tom, before you share your favorites, I just wanted to mention, because we've been talking about Better Days so much, that one of the I think key players in that song is the backing singer. She actually has a pretty big role in it, Zelma Davis. And when I first saw her name, I thought, I know that name. Where have I heard it? And so I did a little research, and then it came to me. She was with C&C Music Factory in the early 90s. Now it gets even weirder because if you recall, in the video for probably the one that the hit they're most remembered for, Gonna Make You Sweat, Zelma Davis appears in the video, but that's not her voice. That was Martha Wash. And she didn't know. Now Zelma did sing lead on some of the other cuts on that album. I think Things That Make You Go Home, I think, was one of them, and I forget the other. Oh, Strike. I don't know, or that's not Strike It Up. It was, I can't remember it right now, but there were two other. She did sing lead on those. Zelma really did, but on that particular track she didn't. But they wanted her in the video, and Martha Wash wasn't informed they were going to do that, and there was a big lawsuit. And I mean, it was crazy. So that's who Zelma Davis is.
Nice.
So yep. So next time you're at a cocktail party and you're talking about that song, you can give a little background on that singer, who was very good. I really liked her on that cut. So, all right, Tom, how about you? What are your favorites?
Well, I mean, like you, Ken, I mean, I always look for the collaboration aspect of a Ringo album, because like you said, he works with so many great people. And like you said, I mean, he's proud of what he's doing. He should be proud of what he's doing. I mean, he started his solo career 50 years ago, I think this month or in October, with working on Sentimental Journey. So, I mean, this man has had a long solo career, and he should be proud, he should be excited, because this album is very excitable, very memorable. And, despite what you said, Ken, I'm very glad that this is mainly a rocking album. I think. Okay. Right off the bat, I loved "Gotta Get Up to Get Down" right off the bat. First time I heard it, I really enjoy. It feels like a Joe Walsh song. I think Marvin said that earlier. If he's still here, I mean, it really does. I mean, it reminds me of something like "Life's Been Good" or "Ordinary Average Guy." It's kind of something like that, and it's that silly song I think that Ringo kind of usually does from time to time. The guitar work on that is excellent. Yeah, go ahead, Ken. We can say something.
You know what that song reminds me of is "Be My Baby" from Old Wave.
Really?
Which Joe Walsh wrote.
Oh, that one.
No,
not the Ringo
album. If you slow down "Be My Baby," it's got more of that feel of "Gotta Get Up to Get Down."
Right. Yeah.
I got the crackers, but she's got the cream.
God damn it. Joe, keep quiet for a minute. I was just going to say that.
Oh, you're kidding. I'm sorry, Tom.
Hey, right here, my friend. Right here.
Edit that part out, kid.
Anyway,
all right, I'll let it down.
I love everything. I mean, Joe for me really carries this song. I love it because his guitar playing before Joe ruins it. I love Joe's lyrics. Everybody's on the internet. What's up with that? Your body keeps waiting for your brain to come back. I think that's a great line. It's really cool, and can't be cool just sitting around. I think that's pretty good. Bruce Sugar throughout this album, I think, is excellent. Everything that he does. And naturally, I got the crackers, but she's got the cream is a lot of fun. But It's Not Love That You Want, I think, is a really good one. I like the collaboration between Dave Stewart and Ringo on here. I think the guitars on here is excellent, very energetic, and just like throughout the whole album, the guitar, I think, is the unsung hero on this album. I think that throughout this whole album, the guitar work is spectacular. For me, my favorite song on this album is Magic. I think this could have been when Steve Lukather took over Toto, kind of when he started doing more of the lead vocals in the mid to late 80s. I think this would have been a hit for them, kind of like in the same vein as 99 or there's another one I can't remember at the moment, but I won't hold you back right now, or something like that. But I mean, because he did kind of sing a little bit, some really good hits, and I think this would have been a big hit for him. And Lukather dominates this song. I love the piano work that he does on this song. The guitar work on this song is excellent. I love the lyrics. This reminds me of so many years ago, and this album reminds me of so many years ago, because I'm really excited about a Ringo album. I just really excited about this album. And there's those late '80s, early '90s albums excited me just as much as those a couple from the '70s as well. In Better Days, like you guys said, Pete Min on guitar, again, great stuff. Another very energetic song, backing vocals, horns on that song are excellent. The peace song. How many more times can we do this? For me personally, all the songs that have the word peace in all four individuals, only two of them have really worked for me. Technically, Peace is in the title for Give Me Love, and then obviously we've got Pipes of Peace. Those are really the only two Peace songs that work for me. The rest,
What about Give Peace a Chance?
Never liked it. Never liked it.
Great slogan, lousy song, and I'm a John fan.
Never cared.
Okay, Ken. I think we have to boot these two off.
We could. I think we need some peace in the neighborhood, my friend.
I like Peace in the Neighborhood.
I love Peace in the Neighborhood.
We're doing an off the ground show.
Yeah, that'll be in the future.
But anyways, the song, I mean, usually the songs on the past albums were okay to good. Here, they're good to great, in my opinion. There's a lot of great on here. Like I said, I think Gotta Get Up is great. It's Not Love You Want is great. Go Old Me is great. Magic is great. Better Days is great. And then, What's My Name is great. And then I think the rest is good. So for me, this is probably a 7.5 out of 10. Great album. Buy it.
You think Money's good?
Buy it not once, buy it twice. That's what I say.
So even Joe was just saying. So even with money,
because you said everything else was good. You said,
yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Except for money.
Except for money. I just want to stay excited about this album. I really do.
Yeah.
Even though there's a little clunker on it, I think this album deserves a lot of attention, and I hope it. We'll probably find out tomorrow how it did on the charts, or this week, I'm sure. I'm hoping at least gets in the top 100.
I hope so.
He deserves. I think this album, like I said, deserves a lot of attention, and
it would be good for Ringo's confidence too, because I feel when he goes out and says how many people got the album, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I feel like if I ever got a chance to meet Ringo, I'd say, Ringo, man, I like so many of your albums. Your albums are Time Takes Time. What a great album. What's My Name? What terrific. I hope his confidence gets boosted. I think the highest he's had is number 58 with Why Not, which is pretty good for Ringo on Billboard. I think that's as high as it's got in recent years.
In recent years, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all agree that we wish that Ringo would expand the songs that he does live. And if he did more songs from his solo albums and his recent albums, and those albums were available at his concerts, he'd sell a lot more of them.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't rely on radio today to play his current stuff. They're not going to
I say stop selling the $100 to $1,000 artwork at your shows and start selling your albums at the shows, and I think you'll,
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
His artwork goes to his charity.
Yeah, I understand that.
So,
I understand that.
Or make a suitcase version.
The suitcase version.
The suitcase edition.
Oh my God!
This album is exciting enough that I might buy that.
Really, I'm telling you, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad you guys feel that way. But for me, the thrill in listening to Ringo in recent years is studying all these different songwriting collaborations and seeing him grow as a songwriter. Anytime I hear any new song from him where he's writing with anyone, I love the stuff with Richard Marx that he's done, which nobody ever talks about. That to me is the joy in seeing him grow in some way as an artist. He's always been great as a drummer, and thank God we're hearing his drumming more now in his current stuff and in the Beatles stuff, the way that it's being remixed. So we're getting to really enjoy him more and examine him more as a drummer. But folks, start giving him credit as a songwriter. And, this album continues with more good collaborations, very good collaborations.
Right.
Ken, excuse me. Who did he write King of the Kingdom with? Did he co-write that? Because that's one of my favorite songs of
I'm trying to think.
King of the Kingdom. I want to say.
Look that up.
Geez,
I should know that off the top of my head.
I think it's one of the. I'm getting older. I mean, I know who it is really, but and then when
it's somebody that Ken enjoys him writing with.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's
like that.
Generic.
I do like that song. I really do. That's one of my favorite songs of Give 'Em All Love.
That's with Van Dyke Park.
Van Dyke Parks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Van Dyke Parks.
All right. Let me just jump in and share.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Kit. We're out of time now. So
oh, wait a minute.
We're running a little late. So let me just. You guys actually said much of what I was going to mention. As I said, Better Days. #1 favorite. That just grabbed me immediately. Magic, I do like as well. I'm not nuts about some of the lyrics. Some of the lyrics are a little simple for me. Not that I picture Ringo doing some, extremely complicated, thing, but like, the first, we were taking a summer stroll, the ocean seemed so blue, you were holding my hand, feet in the sand like lovers do. I don't know. I just
love it.
Really? I just was like, but I love the music. And Steve Lukather wrote the foreword to my Michael Jackson FAQ book. So I love you, Steve. I love you, Steve. But no, seriously, though.
I don't mean to sound romantic, but I want to be more than just friends.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. There you go. So, yeah, but I do. I mean, other than the slight, little bit passe lyrics, I still really, it's a great song. What's My Name? I really immediately, first time I heard it, I thought this is a great song. This is going to be Ringo's entrance theme song. I mean, it'll play live very well, I think, and I'm sure that's he and Colin Hay probably wrote it, for that purpose. And I like how it kind of encapsulates his life. I the different things about, but he's still here, and I mean, it's just great stuff. I actually like Send Love Spread Peace. I liked it. I thought that was one of the better peace theme songs that Ringo has done. It's one of my favorites, actually.
I like Peace Dream the best out of his.
Oh yeah, Peace Dream. Yeah. Yep, that's great too. Thank God for music. That's going to play very well live. I think, and it's just like many of the songs on here, and we've talked about this. They're feel good. They really, they just have such a happy, positive spirit. And I didn't like It's Not Love That You Want Immediately, but it's really grown on me over time. Yeah. And I think part of it is because, I don't know, it reminded me a little bit. I did. I looked at the credits again and I thought, are you sure Jeff Lynne didn't produce this? Because it really had the kind of Cloud 9 vibe to me. I don't know if it was the mix of the drums. I'm not sure, but I really, I like that as well. And boy, he just has such a stellar group of musicians backing him here. And we talked about Bruce Sugar, Jim Cox, Joe Walsh, of course. I mean, they are really the MVPs of this album. There were just so many great piano solos and so much there. I mean, just great musicianship and I mean, overall, there were some tracks I like better than others, but money, but but other than that, I mean, I really think this is a really solid effort. Definitely in my view, the best he's done, consistently good in a while, and I just. It's a lot of fun. It's just such a positive album. And he sounds, despite the mix of the vocals we don't like, he sounds really, really great. I hope I look and sound that good at 79, I mean, so just to wrap this up, we'll just go around.
We got to
so
start doing some jumping jacks then, Kit. So
yeah, well, there you go. That's the key, jumping jacks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Broccoli, a lot of broccoli.
Yeah, there you go.
He said kale too. Kale.
Oh, kale.
Kale.
That's the kale.
Okay. All right. Well, make a note of that, everybody. All right. So, so just to wrap this up, where would you and Joe, you kind of already said this, but where would you rank this in Ringo's catalog? What do you think?
Well, I would
Joe?
honestly would have saved it, but I didn't know you were going to do it later.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I guess I should have figured at the end we would do. No, really, honestly, I meant it. I know Ken was like, "Well, it's a little soon." No, I could tell right away from me. I'm putting it in the top 5 for me. If I was going to list them all now, because that can change too. You have different times where something else rises or sinks a little lower.
Right.
Right now, I like Ringo, first album. Self-titled Ringo album. It's funny. I always said "Time Takes Time" second, but now I'm thinking, do I like this better? Is this more than "Time Takes Time"? I don't know. But right now, I'll put this either 3 or 4. I'll flip it with "Goodnight Vienna." So
Okay.
3 or 4 out of his 20 albums.
Okay. Ken, how about you?
It's too soon.
It's
really no. I mean, I already
everybody's
mentioned,
different. Everybody's different.
I'm just kidding.
Ringo albums go from good to great. I don't think any of Ringo's albums I would call bad. If I had to rate a Ringo album from 0 to 10, none of them would be lower than a 5 or a 6. So, my top 5 are definitely "Time Takes Time," the Ringo album, "Vertical Man," Ringo-Rama, and "Choose Love." Beyond that, it's really tough because so many of them I just regard as being equal. I don't place "Goodnight Vienna" way up there. I think that there's a lot of albums that he's made that were better than "Goodnight Vienna." "Goodnight Vienna" benefited from being the follow-up album from Ringo. But, if "Time Takes Time" followed Ringo, that would have been a much more successful album, I think, because, songs 1 through 10 were perfect on "Time Takes Time." Yeah. But, probably somewhere between, he's done 20 albums now, between 10 between 10 and 15 somewhere.
Okay. All right.
But that's not a bad thing.
But and that can change. I mean, this is all with the understanding that we change our minds many times. It's kind of like what we're in the mood for. So, Tom, how about you?
Yeah, well, like Ken just said, I mean, he's done 20 albums, and I would put this in the top 10. This is a top tier album for me, and I'm looking forward to continuing to enjoy this album. So it's a top tier for me.
Absolutely. Well, the correct answer is
number 1.
If you're gonna play by Kit's rules, the correct answer.
I am the queen,
Yeah. Well.
I'm just kidding. No, I would say top 5 for sure. Maybe even top 4. Because I mean now. I'm sorry, Joe. I can't rank it above "Time Takes Time." No.
I still. I'll put that number. I'll leave that at number 2. It's
shame on you.
But this might be 3.
Yeah, this might be 3. I'm kind of torn between 3 and 4 myself. I think this is definitely his strongest effort in a long time, and I absolutely I think, and we have Marvin that said it knocked "Goodnight Vienna" off the top 5 for him. So so this is I think overall, as we've talked about tonight, this is really a solid effort by Ringo, and I hope he plays a lot of this live next year. Because as I said, I think a lot of these songs are just tailor made for it. So
the last thing I wrote was this album left me wanting more.
Yep.
Whether that meant more songs or more repeat listenings, I felt really good listening to this album, and I hope to continue with that. I hope it.
Right on, brother. Right on.
Yeah. Right on.
Absolutely.
And that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think it's about time to wrap things up. So we'll go around and let everybody know where we can be reached and if anything interesting is coming up. Joe, why don't we start with you?
Well, my channel is called Mean Mr. Mayo on YouTube. Please subscribe. I just did a video recently talking about autographs and whether or
I
not
saw that.
Yeah.
whether, and spurred on by Ringo too. Ringo's decision to not sign autographs 11 years ago. I think it's 11 years ago. 11 years ago.
Wow.
And that's my newest video. And you can always check out all kinds of stuff there, mostly Beatles related and solo Beatles related, but also some other good fun stuff.
Awesome. All right. Tom, how about you?
Yeah, thank you, Kit. Well, like you said earlier, we're now a video cast, so the show is up on YouTube. So if you want to go to or type in Two Legs, you should be able to find us. Check us out. Our first 4 videos are up and running, and we're having a good time doing it. Andy and I are really starting to gel and find the show. We're having a great time. Really appreciate all the work that he's doing. Our last video is up. We talked about the Red Rose Speedway album and the journey that led to the album, and a few months after it, post Red Rose Speedway. So we really had a good time talking about that album. And I just got this bad boy here. So we're I don't know. So we're gonna play around some T-shirt action. If people want one, if I get enough interest, maybe I'll after the new year I'll have a bunch made up and start mailing out to people if you want it. But yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do. So hopefully we've got the little 2L right there on the side.
Mean Mr. Mayo T-shirts coming into the year 2020. That's true. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we'll be having some new Talk More Talk swag coming up in time for Beatle Fest next year. Right. So, yeah, cool. Absolutely. So some merch. So,
are you going to say something, right. Ken?
So, Ken, how about you?
I just wanted to say, Tom, I could use a new wardrobe.
Okay.
Hint.
Right.
I want to thank Tim Jackson for his comments here. I like the new camera angle from Ken that does not show his room. Is not as organized as the other guys. Thank you. Thank you for your diplomacy, Tim.
That's not the first time I've heard that.
And it won't be the last.
Right.
Thanks a lot there, dude.
We are after Beatle Fest in March. Joe and I and Kit, we're all going to get together. We're going to get to Ken's place, and we're going to have a little, Ken cleaning room party or something like that.
There you go.
I need a lot of help.
My battery power is down to 15%. What do you know? Oh, no, I just got a notice.
All right.
Okay.
So Ken, what are you up to?
If you want to reach me by email, it's everylittlething@att.net. My website is kenmichaelsradio.com. A couple things I want to mention about the website. I have a new prize to give away, and that's this little baby. This is Peter Asher's new book.
Ooh.
It's called The Beatles from A to Z, an alphabetical mystery tour. And this grew out of Peter's new show, not really new anymore, on the Beatles channel on Sirius XM. And it's all about Beatles songs, the instruments they used, how they influenced people. And I'm just starting to read this book. So this is the new prize you can win on my Beatles trivia page, where you can win one of 9 prizes, like this book or Kit's book.
That's
or
right.
Amoeba Gig from Paul McCartney. That's on my website. I also did a new interview with Ken McNabb, who put out a great book recently called And in the End, The Last Days of the Beatles. It's all about 1969, month by month, what the Beatles were going through as a group, their solo projects, their personal lives, all the business problems that they had in detail to help you understand what an incredibly packed year that was and all that was going on in their lives. And so that's on my website on interviews page 4. It's an hour long, a lot of what's covered in the book. And he was a great guest on Things We Said Today, too, going back, I don't know, about half a year ago or so. So you can listen to that episode as well. Speaking of Things We Said Today, we just taped the show right before this one. You'll never guess what we covered. Never.
Oh, you're kidding.
What's his
Never.
name?
Yeah.
We covered all the Peace songs that Tom doesn't like in the Beatles
Oh.
catalog. No, we talked about What's My Name, so you can hear what Alan Kozin has to say and Darren DeVivo about Ringo's new album, and that'll be coming out Wednesday or Thursday this coming week. So
Send love, spread peace is better than people want peace. Anyway, go ahead. Next.
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I'm just having fun, guys. Ooh, I'm just having fun. I love the album.
Maybe we should do a future show, like all on peace songs,
I think so.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. That's not bad.
That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, let's do it.
Ken, don't forget to promote the show, my competitor that you were, his show that you were on not too long ago.
Oh, Sam Wiles.
Yeah.
Yes, I just recorded a show with him, which is all about press to play.
Yep.
And we had a short conversation, which in Sam's language means just under 3 hours. So that'll be coming out pretty soon, whenever he's done editing that one. So it's called Paul or Nothing.
Yep.
It's the name of his podcast, so look out for that. And if it's out by next show, I'll let you guys know about it.
Cool. All right. And I talking about other podcasts we've appeared on, and hopefully the hosts are still watching. They were watching just a little while ago. I was on the Tomorrow Never Knows podcast with Bob Wilson and Warren Brown, and we talked about anthology. It was really fun to go back.
It was a good show.
No, thank you. Yeah, it was fun to go back and sort of relive some of that excitement. So I think you guys really enjoy it. So the link is on my Facebook page. And I think it's on Talk More Talk too. I think I put it up there. So tomorrow, my latest Culture Sonar article will be out about Etta James and her song "Roll with Me, Henry" as part of my R&B Foundations of Rock series. And my columns will be Deep Beatles and Deep Soul will be returning later this week. And and I'm going to be repeating this in the next episode. Believe it or not, I'm going to be starting my Christmas gift list. My annual Beatles. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to be starting it. So if you want to submit any candidates, you can do it through my Facebook page or if you want the Talk More Talk one. It can be anything Beatles or solo related. It just had to have come out in 2019. So there you go. All right, there's a nominee that I think is a good shot of making it.
I need a few McCartney archives yet.
Yeah, so. That's right. Yeah, no kidding. So we'll see. So I'll say this again in the next show, but definitely if you've got ideas, I want to hear them. Submit your nominations. So I think that's everything. So as usual, great show, guys. It was a lot of fun. And thank you all for tuning in and for all your great comments. So for Ken Michaels, Joe Mayo, and Tom Hanyati, this is Kid O'Toole saying peace and love. Peace and love. Good night, everybody.
What's my name?
Buy the album.
Ringo.